Just a little bit of background. I've studied viticulture and enology at the University of Stellenbosch, and then worked for 3 years at the research station at Stellenbosch for enology and viticulture, and then came to the farm in 1978. So I'm more than 40 years on the farm. The first 20 years I was involved with the vineyards as well as the wines. I did the winemaking as well. But since Wilhelm joined, I only concentrated on the vineyards, which is actually my first love. I studied viticulture after my first degree, so that's actually my first love. If you ask me what is the source of good quality in a wine, I would start by saying it's the vineyard, and I think the winemakers also said that. I had a story to show my love for the vineyard. About 10-15 years ago, I was walking in the vineyard to one of the supervisors, which I've trained, and when I got up to him, he asked out of the blue, "Sir, do you love the vineyard? Do you love the vines?" I thought, what a weird question to ask. I've never thought of that. And I said, "Yes, but why do you ask that? I have to think about it." And he said, "No, I've noticed that you touch the vines like one touches your children." And to me, that was the biggest accolade I've ever received. And I actually realized for the first time how big my love for the vineyard itself is. Although I like the wine and like to follow the whole process to the cellar. So if you ask me, what is at the base of the quality of our wines, I would like to say it starts in the vineyards. And I've got experience of 40 years. So I mean, I know every block, I know every vineyard, I know the slopes, I know the soil, I know the different cultivars. And I think that's important. When the harvesting season comes close, we will just discuss it, and there's a sequence in which we harvest and a way in which we test ripeness to make sure that the quality ends in the cellar. I've got the opinion that if I stop doing the vineyards, let me just stay with me. I think it will be the same with the winemakers, but if somebody else does the vineyard, the wine will taste different. I don't say it will taste worse or better, but different, because you put something of yourself into the vineyard, your love and your appreciation, and for the different blocks you get to know how each one prefers to be treated. For instance, the old block, the 1953 block, somebody asked me a week or so ago, "Do you often visit the block?" I said yes, almost weekly. At my age, you don't get so much friends at your age anymore. So you'd like to visit and see if everything is fine. With a block of that age, you don't get the vigor that you get at young vineyards. So I make sure that there's no competition for weeds, there's no diseases in the vineyard, that it gets pruned correctly, and every summer treatment also keep the vineyard healthy and make sure that the grapes are of top quality. Yeah, so I often visit that block, but all the others I don't often use the bakkie. I use a motorbike. It brings you closer to the vineyard, and with the experience of 40 years, you can see from a distance if there's a problem or something is right. I remember I had a young guy with me at one stage about 10-15 years ago, and I was driving, he was with me in the bakkie, and I said, "You must have a look at that block. I think it's got snails." And he came back to me afterwards and said, "How did you know?" I said, "It's just that you know how a healthy vine and should look, and if it doesn't look like that, there must be a problem." And vineyards need different treatment. From the start, I mean, the Sauvignon Blanc that did so well in the competition, we selected that piece of land 20 years, 25 years ago, I don't know how old the block is, to make sure that it's not too hot there, that it's high up, it gets the southwestern winds in the afternoon, the cooler block. And other cultivars like Cabernet, so it's not so necessary to have specific place where it stands, a terroir. We've got Petit Verdot, which is a very interesting cultivar. It's being used in the Bordeaux blend. Now, the normal production in a vineyard is that you get 2 bunches per shoot. And Petit Verdot, I've seen 5 bunches on a shoot. Quite often 3, I would say on average 3. So it's very important to control your growth there, concentrate your growth, and to drop bunches. We drop 3-time bunches in the Petit Verdot, 1 just after setting, after flowering, and then 1 in the middle of December, and then on just before harvest, at Veranzon when it starts coloring, January, we drop another, the 3rd time, to prevent it from overcropping. I think it's important if you want quality in a wine that there must be balance between your growth and your harvest. It mustn't be too much vigor, then you won't get a big crop the next year because it's overshadowing. And if the bunches are too many, you won't get the concentration in your wine. Some wines, at one stage there was belief, for example, at Pinotage. Pinotage doesn't give a good quality when trellised. So I made an experiment, and my first wine, I was still making the wine then, the wine was by far inferior to the bush wines. And when I checked the crop level, I realized that the old belief between the farmers was that you can't get quality from a trellis, but it's because the crop production on the trellis isn't always controlled. So the crop was far heavier on the trellis vineyards. So when I brought that down to more or less the same level as the bush vines, the quality was the same or better. So there are so many aspects to keep in mind when you farm with vineyards and different cultivars, and, especially when it comes closer to the harvesting time as well. Sauvignon Blanc, we remove the secondary shoots on this horizontal stem to get a little bit sunshine in. We don't remove leaves, and well, I haven't been trained like that, but the new winemakers and Anneke also does that, is to taste quite a lot, especially with the white cultivars like Chenin and Sauvignon Blanc, to go into the vineyard instead of just looking what the sugar is, the bulling. That's why we were trained, is to taste the berries and to make sure that you have got the right flavors, because that's where the flavor comes from. Especially a cultivar like Chenin Blanc and Sauvignon Blanc, the flavors come from the grapes. I mean, Chardonnay I think is more made in the vineyard, in the cellar, but it's also important to keep the grapes healthy and without any disease when you bring it in. And it's a long season. I mean, we start with Pinotage, the younger Pinotage first, normally at the end of January, and we end after March with the Petit Verdot normally, or sometimes the Cabernet. Interesting, sometimes you must have patience to wait for ripeness. You know, you've got a big team outside, 60 plus people. They want to work, they want to earn money, and then you must tell them they can't work today because we're still waiting for the sugars to be at the right level. So it's a long and patient process, but in the end, if you wait, you will reap the results like we've done this year. Thank you.